Good morning and welcome to our postgraduate digital event. Sorry for the delay in starting the event. My name is Daniel. I work for the marketing team here at DMU. I'm also an undergrad or a graduate student from DMU. So I did my advertising and marketing degree here. And then I went on to also do my degree in strategic and digital marketing. So that's what we'll be talking about today. So we'll be covering a little bit more about the degree strategic and digital marketing. But to do that, I'll be joined by Associate Professor David Gordon, who has also taught me in my time. And I've had a fantastic time with David Gordon on, especially on the business research project, and just learning a lot from him. So I'm excited for this session and I hope you guys are excited too. So I'll bring David into the live stream and we can go from there.
Hi.
Oh, hi, David. So David, can you please introduce yourself to our audience? Tell them a little bit about your experience, your background.
Okay. No, thanks very much, Daniel. So, yeah, great that everyone can join us today. Name's David Gordon. I'm Associate Professor of Marketing. I'm the Programme Leader for the 3 postgraduate courses, but obviously today talk about the MSc Strategic and Digital Marketing. My background, I did a couple of years at a full services agency in Atlanta, Georgia, many years ago. Came to De Montfort to do my degree in marketing computing. Started the business up in the last year. I grew the business. I wasn't planning on being an entrepreneur. I was planning on having a marketing career. Had a couple of small businesses myself. Came back to do. I've always been really passionate about the marketing subject area and passionate about the reality of contextual, actual, practical experience, practical examples being in academia. And did a degree in an MSc in strategic marketing, a sort of earlier version, a good number of years, many years ago, and then got a job in corporate life. So my trajectory changed. I worked for Sage accounting software for a few years, then Pegasus accounting software, and then 15 years at IBM and finish up divisional marketing head. But all the time I was working part-time at De Montfort. So I did 19 years at in effect 50% of a role at De Montfort. So having 1.5 jobs almost killed me. And then left IBM, I think about 5 years ago, and done various different roles at De Montfort. The strategic and digital marketing degree has always been a massive interest to me, because I know that the benefits of doing my MSc for my career, my career really took off when I'd got that. So, yeah, thanks very much, Daniel.
No worries. I think, David, that sort of is a nice cue to go into the next section, which is I wanted to discuss some of the benefits of studying the strategic and digital marketing MSc. You mentioned career routes. I think for me, I think I can sort of give a similar story in that when I did my degree in strategic and digital marketing, it gave me more of an edge, and I was able to take all that knowledge and sort of apply it firsthand, and to say to my boss, hey, I've done this research on the business. Here you go. I'm happy to present to you. And it kind of gave me an edge. Well, it did. It didn't even kind of give me an edge. It did give me an edge, and it made me more valuable to the organization because I was able to go out and do some research and then come and present to my organization. So, yeah, let's talk about some of the benefits of studying the strategic and digital marketing for someone who perhaps has already studied marketing or maybe has a job in marketing and wants to come and sharpen the saw a little bit.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, the MSCs, there's a funny idiosyncrasy. Everyone, when you've done your undergraduate degree, everyone will say, what did he get? At a postgrad level, it's different. In 25 years of having my MSc, I have never been asked once, what did I get? No one's interested. Occasionally I've been asked what subject it was in, probably maybe 10 times in my career, but I've never been asked where I did it. There seems to be a sort of misconception you have to do it at a certain type of university. And I can tell you from being on the other side of the fence as someone who's taken on graduates for over 20 years and placement students and what have you, no one cares. No one cares, and no one asks that question. The MSc level, though, so we'll talk about the MSc level generally, having a master's, and then talk specifically about the course. The MSc generally, master's qualifications won't automatically give you a job, won't automatically start you on an enormous salary. That's not the point. But what they do, and I've been involved with graduate assessment centres and interviews and what have you, and working with the HR teams as a hiring manager for many years. What it does do is often move you to the top of the queue of people that will be seen when thousands of applications or hundreds of applications come in for a job. How on earth do you make a decision with somebody? And when a CV or an application form gets sent through, 90% of the time with companies, it's a piece of software that assesses it with the language and the experience or vocabulary, the experience of the person, the qualifications and what have you. And it's a blunt instrument. And I'm sure many of you may have experienced that at some time. And it can be brutal and unfortunate. When it comes to an MSc, that's often one of the pointers that this software has input into it. Aha, right, let's consider this person. They are in the pile. It's an easy decision to make. What employers think about MSCs is this is someone that is investing in themselves, investing in their knowledge. There are many companies that to get to a senior exec level, a board level, you have to have an MSc. So there are many companies that will have their own quite elite group of people or elite scheme, or with elite, not elitist, elite scheme, where they will put real high flyers, real potential future leaders on the fast track master's course for different places. I would never caution against someone doing that with a company, but it can be a hard yard when you're in a job and you're working your heart out and you get home and you've got to do another 3 or 4 hours study or spend the weekend studying. That it is much better off people doing a course now. And then so that's at the initial application stage for a position. When it comes to you having a graduate assessment centre day or interviews, and there are a number of other people there at a company, again, a master's course will often put you at the front of the list of people to be seen. I can promise you, no one in any company differentiates between people who have got a first or a 2-1. And no students all want to get a first. It's pride, family pride, it's all of that. But I promise you, in all my years of recruiting, no company has ever differentiated. The minimum's a 2-1. If they say that, that's it. You're in the pot. You're in the race. There is absolutely no differentiation between first and 2-1. What there may be a differentiation with is if you've got a master's, and that it isn't a guarantee of getting a job, but it puts you at the front of the interview queue. So I just wanted to start off with that kind of long-winded explanation. The MSc Strategic and Digital Marketing developed about, I think, 12 to 15 years ago, and it's morphed over time as technology has morphed and been introduced or gone out of fashion. And there have been some changes over the past few years to, as we do every year, to sharpen things up, to introduce new subjects. What I'm really keen on as a program leader is that we have the members of staff teaching it that come from an industry background. Over 40% of De Montfort University marketing staff come from an industry background, or either a consultant now, they work at De Montfort, say 3 days a week, their own consultancy 2 days a week, or have major project work with big companies. So these are people who can tell you actually how it is. They can talk through the theory, They can set the seminars, the discussion, the debates, and they can also say things like, okay, we've learned about X, Y, Z, but how it's actually used in industry. People talk about PQR. They explain that model in this way, not that particular way. And again, that's one of the things that I emphasize with all the tutors or the module leaders on the MSc, that's strategic and digital marketing. So the typical format is 4 subjects, so it's semesterized rather than subjects going through the whole year. You do 4 subjects before Christmas, say October starters, 4 subjects before Christmas, 4 subjects after Christmas, between Christmas and May, and then short break. And then over the summer for 12 weeks, you have the option to do either a dissertation, a classic formal theoretical dissertation, or you have the option to do what's called a business research project that I'm also module leader for. And I developed this when I left IBM because I'd interviewed many students over the years, really bright students, great effervescent students that I really wanted on my team. And I'd rather cruelly ask the question, what's excited you at university? What have you loved? What have you really been inspired by? And a lot of them have talked and waxed lyrical about the dissertation, which is great. And again, rather cruelly, I've said, okay, what part of that learning is going to be a benefit for the problems in my business in the next month? Now, it is a cruel question because that have done a bit of background, not much more, and we'd have had a talk about some of the issues in the division. But no one could ever explain. No one could ever say, I've learnt this, I've actually done this, and if I got the job, I could do that for you next month. No one was in that position. At universities, we teach people how to think. We don't teach people which buttons to press, but there has to be a merging of the two. There has to be some kind of practical exercise. So the MSc Strategic and Digital Marketing is very contextual based. And this business research project that Daniel did, we have a number of students doing it each year. It is a live business-based project. So I will go out and network with my networking groups, with businesses, a lot of marketing agencies, companies and their marketing departments to understand what research problems that they've got. All businesses want to find stuff out. At the university, we call it research. They just think it's finding stuff out. No one ever has the time to do that properly in business. No one ever has the time themselves. In situations where I've had ideas in business and I think that would be a great thing to do, but I've got to put hours worth of research into that before I even take it to the board to get the okay to move forward to then get funding approval. And it's that initial chunk of work. So many businesses I talk to, the problem is often that if I tell them that we do this project with really sharp marketing students, the problem is they all want it. So what I do is I'll source maybe 10, 15 projects that are live projects, put these out to students. Students make their own choice of which project to be allocated to, and they're allocated as a cluster, absolutely not as a group. I know students hate doing group work. As a cluster, they get a supervisor, an experienced supervisor with industry background. I'm quite maniacal about that they have to have someone who can talk the talk. And it's done remotely, and there's business interaction at the beginning. They have a briefing. So all the time you're learning, you're applying your knowledge that you've learned. So over the undergrad and postgrad, you're applying it to this live situation. There's no literature review, but it's heavy on the research and the analysis, and you have to give a professional set of business proposals. And I'll take the best ones of each cluster. So let's say there's a cluster of 6-7 students for each project, not a group, but as a cluster. I'll take the best individual ones, strip out the personal stuff, and I'll give it to the business. And do you know what? 95% of the time, they use it going forward in their strategy. So I've emphasized that, a bit strongly, not because it's my module, but because it's a very contextual part of the MSc. So if a student, for example, hasn't done a placement year, we all know it's kind of tough applying for them, or some people really don't want to apply and have that year delay, if you like. This is an opportunity for a lot of contextual assessments. Some of the assessments on the MSc are based on, again, a live business situation, and will have businesses introduced. But for your 12-week project, you've got something really credible. And I know from a number of students over the past few years of running this, that they've put a diluted version down of their BRP, and especially the proposals. They put it on LinkedIn, and we can never guarantee it. I probably shouldn't even say it, but people have got jobs from doing it. So that was an elongated answer, but back to you, Daniel.
Yeah, fantastic, David. Thank you for diving into the business research projects. I think one area that I would like to come in is just to highlight that I was someone who wanted to do the business research project, but because I already worked for an organization, I decided to do it on the organization that I worked for. So David did give me the option to come in and say, hey, David, I've spoken to my manager, and this is a crucial problem that we've identified, and my manager wants me to look at this particular area. And David was more than sort of happy for me to look in that area. He was my tutor as well. So we would have meetings, very flexible. I would message him at, stupid o'clock sometimes. And David would always sort of respond to me and say, okay, yeah, cool. Don't worry about it. Let's meet up tomorrow morning. Let's have a coffee, a virtual coffee, and let's talk about what you're currently doing. And he was fully flexible, which I really liked. That aspect of things. I didn't feel like there was a lot of pressure to always have to meet with him, but it was always on my terms. I could just say, David, can we meet up? And he would say yes. And so after the entire process, I was able to come up with a report. And David also suggested to me, instead of sending the report to my manager and senior manager, actually email them and say to them, can I present to you? Because sometimes you might come up with this massive report, 20 pages, and some people just don't have the time to read the presentation. So instead, David had recommended actually summarize all your information from your report, put it in a presentation, and go out there and present. And, it's those small things that definitely give you an edge when you're at a massive organization of, 200, 300 employees. And when you can come up with a presentation to say, here are recommendations. I've spoken to 100 customers, and I've done some research and collected as much data as I can. And here's a summary. I think that's very valuable. So for me, I really enjoyed that process. And it gave me a better understanding of my organization and its customers as well. So on a day-to-day now, I understand how they're thinking. And so I can make the right decisions. So yeah, that's my take on the business research project, and I can't thank you enough, David, for your support on that. I'd like to jump into sort of career routes or any examples that we might have had. For me, I can start off. I know I'm a senior marketing officer, so after doing my degree, I've been in this current position, and I'm continuing in this position. But I know we've had other people sort of work for different organizations after doing the degree. So is there, any examples or any sort of industries people have gone into that we can talk about?
Yeah, definitely. There's been a number of examples. I'll keep it down to a few. There was one particular example of a young lady who'd done an assessment, strategic assessment for a local agency, who didn't want anyone internal doing this research. Didn't want a research agency, because it seemed like, a consultancy or whatever coming in, slightly heavy-handed. Everyone would have their heads down and worrying. So they wanted to have a bit of soft touch, if you like. No disrespect to students, but a young person doing it didn't seem so threatening. Did the research and produced a report. The agency was absolutely over the moon. The young lady went to apply for a job at a software company I think in South Midlands. And I remember her emailing me saying, come have a chat. She called me up. She said, I've got a job out of it. She said, I use the BRP. She said, I was at the interview. I started talking. I think she got a similar question I said I used to ask graduates. And she said, yeah, the most exciting thing was this business research project. Talk through it. And the after a couple of minutes, the marketing manager who was interviewing her said, can you hang on here a second? And he said, I just want to get someone. Brought the MD of the company. It was like a 200-person company. Brought the MD of the person, introduced him, said, would you mind repeating that? She talked through what she'd done and everything. And the MD said, would you mind just hanging on here? I just need a 2-minute conversation with the marketing manager, which I had. He came back in. The MD offered her the job. He said, that's brilliant. He said, you haven't, what you've done is articulated all your learning, how you've actually practically used your learning to benefit a company. You haven't just used it for a theoretical report. And again, no disrespect in any way to dissertations. I've done dissertations in all my study in 2 levels of study. So it's no disrespect to that, but it was a real benefit to the business. And similarly, there was when I started the business research project up, another example of a chap that is still working at a local agency. He got snapped up by them. He did this business research project on for one of their clients. He wanted to take the opportunity to get some real practical, if you like, client research experience. So he had regular contact with the agency remotely, not with the clients, but it was the information was done through second-hand sources. Anyway, he did such a fantastic report that there was only, I think, 3 people doing it. But this particular chap did such a fantastic report. I remember one of the directors phoning me up saying, has this guy been working for us for about 10 years and I've never seen him? I said, no. He said, he's a sharp chap. He said, it's absolutely brilliant. He said, don't tell him this, but I want to offer him a job. I said, look, he shouldn't tell me this. I cannot be involved in this decision. The student, unfortunately, for this chap, went to work for another company for a couple of years, and he got, this is 5 years ago, he got poached back by the agency to say, please come and work for us. And he hit the ground running. So a couple of examples, different examples with a career. I mentioned that often in large and smaller, in medium-sized companies, often having a master's, it will put you in the league of people who are potential executives, senior execs of the company. A lot of companies have that as a prerequisite for getting to the board level. What it will also do, will give you that more granular insight, so you can take a step back, view a situation with your learning, with the tools, with the experience, and be able to give um, um, more senior advice, and without sounding elitist in any way, more detailed, informed advice about a situation.
Perfect. Thank you, David, for that. I just wanted to look at the comment sections and just say hi to, there's a few people that have told us where they're from. So we've got Akash from India. Grace has also said hi. And Tamina, who's in Bangladesh, has also said hi. So I'll encourage you guys, if you are joining the Strategic and Digital Marketing MSc in September, this will be a perfect opportunity for you to ask any questions. If not, if you're interested in the course and you're looking to study in September or next year, again, stay tuned because we will be covering some more points. The next point I just wanted to highlight, David, off what you mentioned about getting the degree and being valuable in an organization, is the accreditations. And I think this degree links well with an accreditation, which then you can also go on to do, to advance your skills in the profession of marketing. So I think our courses do have accreditation. So would you like to talk about that and perhaps explain how people can then finish doing the strategic and digital marketing and then go on to do an accreditation for that extra boost in their career?
Sure. For people that want a professional qualification, so this is the MSc, Strategic and Digital Marketing is an academic qualification. For people that want a professional qualification, and some people do, I did mine after my academic qualifications. We have exemptions from the Chartered Institute of Marketing, so worldwide governing body of marketing, seen as absolute de facto marketing practice, that they value our degree, our master's degree, so much that students won't have to do as many of the individual assessments for the Chartered Institute of Marketing qualifications. There's a variety of qualifications that they offer. I won't go into the detail there, but I can provide further information. But the key thing is students get exemptions from doing the certain professional elements of the qualification, not the whole one, but elements of.
Perfect. So what I'll do is I'll put a link here. You can take a screenshot or a picture and sort of type it in. You if you follow this link, you'll get to see all our marketing courses, and you can find out more about our accreditations and some of the exemptions that you will receive. So David, just before we finish, because we are approaching the end of this live stream, I'd just like to talk about some modules, and I'd like to see if we can talk about the managing advertising and communications, and perhaps what that will give to people who study on this course, because I really enjoyed that module. I really enjoyed going back to sort of understanding advertising, understanding campaign planning, understanding the strategy behind communications. So can we talk about that and perhaps give some people some insight on why they should look forward to doing that course?
Sure. So the modules, I won't go through every single module. I could talk for a week about them. So you mentioned one of them, advertising, and the gentleman that runs that has spent a career working on that side of the industry, an academic, but also advisory role with businesses. So again, deep practical experience. Some of the other modules, so we run a module, I'm looking up here at the chart on my wall. We run a module, strategic marketing, and the gentleman who runs this module, leader for this, was a program director for DBAs and MBAs in Iran. So incredibly experienced guy, and with a history of practical and academic with marketing strategy. So we'll talk about a different lens. Strategy is about a medium to long term view. It's not a short term tactic. It's about developing a way of thinking, an approach, a plan that has value and value in retaining customers. So this module, it opened my eyes when I developed it with a couple of other people, and I wanted more practitioner input into it, and also deep academic input. And it opened my eyes, the input I got from these two other people to different views and different approaches. So that's a fantastic module in the first year. We run a module called Strategic E-Marketing. This is a second semester optional module. And again, run by a lady who's incredibly experienced in the industry with this subject. We all live in a digital world. Everything's online. We want everything instantly, and there are everything's digital. Whether it's billboard signs are digital, radios are digital. Digital marketing is not, if you like, a separate thing. It is all of marketing. Although there are still traditional things that happen with events and shows and exhibitions, but we talk about the latest things that are happening in the industry with digital marketing, and the assessment in this particular module is about. So last year's assessment was about doing a complete audit of a company and their digital, their e-marketing strategies. I don't know if Daniel, you can remember doing any other modules. So it's fine me talking, but if we have to finish off, it'd probably actually be better from hearing from a student that's done it.
Absolutely. So just to sort of end the live stream, I'll touch on the advanced analytics module that I did here at DMU as part of the Strategic and Digital Marketing MSc. The reason why I've highlighted that particular module, because it really challenged me. We were looking at numbers, we were crunching numbers, we were using different softwares, we're using Excel, just to break down numbers and understand how return on investment is calculated, or to understand how cost per mile is actually generated. So instead of just having Google do it for you, we got to learn the science behind how analytics are actually calculated. And I also really enjoyed sort of the predictive models. So you can predict if a customer is going to stay with you for a specific amount of time. So that's looking at, the lifetime value of a customer. So how long will a customer be with you? How long will they purchase with you? So you can calculate that. So if you can see on the graph, like, this customer might not be with us for a long time, perhaps we need to give them an incentive or try something to keep them, So it's little things like that that might not seem significant, but on this course, it was really significant because breaking down the science and actually understanding that was amazing. So I'll leave it on that. And I'll say to everyone and to David, thank you so much, David, for your time today. And anyone in the comments section that has mentioned anything about CAS letters or offer letters, please go back to the homepage. We have an online chat, and in that online chat, you can speak to an admissions person, and they'll be able to answer any of those questions. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and thank you, David. I'll end the live stream now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.